Bitcoin and cryptocurrency, those people are all in.
Oh, yeah, as I said,
there's a giant group of them that are just all in.
Yeah, they're all in. I said they're all in Puerto Rico now. So I'm hanging around more of the crypto guys than I used to.
And what is your take?
Look, I feel badly in that. Well, first of all, some of them got very rich, so I don't feel bad for these guys that got rich, that put a few $1,000s in and now have millions of dollars. Obviously I missed out on that myself, right? There's a lot of bubbles that I missed out on. I didn't make anything on the .com bubble. I made money when it came down. I didn't make any money on the housing bubble until it went down. I missed out on the Bitcoin bubble, but this bubble was tailor-made for me. If there was ever a bubble that I should have been part of, it was this one. This was all. It was all for the libertarians, right? Free market guys, anti-fiat currency. So I knew about it early on. Not at the very beginning when it was like pennies, but I knew about it before it was $10. I knew about it when it was pretty low.
How much do you have invested in Bitcoin?
Oh, zero.
Zero.
Yeah, Oh, actually, you know what? I got $50 worth because.
Big spender.
Well, what happened is, after the debate, I went out to dinner with Eric Voorhees, who is my opponent, his wife. My wife was there, and we had a group of people. And so they gave me, to show me how it works, they gave me $100 worth of Bitcoin, and then I gave somebody back 50, but I kept 50 of it. So
in case.
Yeah, although now it's only worth 48 because it's gone down, right?
Well, it moves all over the place.
So I don't feel badly that some of these guys lucked into having a lot of money, or it's luck, or they took a shot and it paid off, right? They got in, and and the market exploded, and they have an opportunity to cash out at a profit. But a lot of them are not cashing out. I think they're gonna go down with the ship. But
when you say that, you think it's going down?
Oh yeah, because it's not going to succeed as money. It's not going to work. It's just a highly speculative asset. And the last time I did your show, a lot of people are, what Peter Schiff got wrong on Joe Rogan about, Bitcoin. Everybody thinks I don't understand it, and that's why I don't believe in it. It's because I do understand it that I don't believe it. The people who think it's going to work, they may understand the technology, but they don't understand money. But when I talk to these people, to me, it's very much, like a cult. They believe so strongly in this. They're so caught up in the hype and the hysteria, and maybe they're blinded by the money they think they're going to make. When these things are $1 million a piece, or wherever they believe they're going.
Yeah, that's what they think it's going to. They think it's going to go to $1 million.
Well, there was an article last week. Some guy was saying 100 million. 100 million of Bitcoin. That's why nobody wants to sell. Right, but the smart people are selling. The people that got in early are trying to con people into holding on so that they can get out.
100 million? They're talking about 100 million, and it's basically some numbers on. Did they ever figure out who that Satoshi Ishii guy is?
No, just Satoshi Nakamura. No,
Satoshi Nakamura.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know why the guy hasn't come forward, if it's a guy at all.
Someone said that they think it's Elon Musk.
I don't know. But whoever it is, you figure they've got a lot of Bitcoin.
If they're a real person. It might be a group of people.
But, of course, now it's not just Bitcoin, right? There's 1,500 to 2,000 of these other cryptocurrencies.
Well, not just that. There's a bunch of different ones, right? There's different variants.
Yeah, and that's part of the problem. Because they think, there's 21 million Bitcoin. Mm-hmm. And they think that means they're scarce. Well, they're not scarce. There's so many other currencies out there. And it's only scarce because it's coded to be scarce. Gold is scarce because it really is scarce.
Yeah.
Bitcoin is scarce because they decided to make it scarce. But it's not scarce in that there's nothing that any other cryptocurrency can't do that Bitcoin is doing.
But they're looking at it as an alternative not to gold, but to the currency that we currently use.
Well, no, they look at it as an alternative to both, I think, a lot of them. Although some people think it's maybe a complement of gold, but, it doesn't have any actual value. And that's where I get into a lot of arguments with these crypto guys, because they say, well, gold doesn't have any actual value either, which is laughable because, of course, gold has actual value. There are lots of things that I can do with gold, and that shows that it has value. There's nothing that I can do with Bitcoin other than give it to somebody else. That's the whole purpose of it, is to give it to somebody else.
Right, but our whole economy is kind of screwy. It's entirely possible that it could shift over to as a crypto coin-based economy. Don't you think? Cryptocurrency-based economy?
Governments could certainly issue crypto fiat currency the same way they issue paper fiat currency. In fact, most of our paper currency transactions are digital anyway. I mean, how much cash do you use on a daily basis? You use your credit card, and so banks are transferring. They're not shipping bills back and forth. Mostly, it's just numbers on a computer. So the government could certainly do that, and that would probably give them even more control over the economy, which is a negative thing because at least if you have cash, I can give you $100, and the government doesn't see that transaction. They're not spying on us. But if they eliminated all cash and all transactions were digital, then they would know everything I did. I mean, every dollar I spent would be recorded on some government computer. And, that's something that I don't want. And I think, libertarians certainly don't want that, which is one way cryptocurrencies could backfire is if the governments end up monopolizing cryptocurrency and issue cryptocurrency alongside or instead of the paper currencies that they issue now. But I think part of the biggest damage that's ultimately going to come from it is when the cryptocurrencies collapse and people lose a lot of money, which is going to happen. The government's going to be able to say, you see, we told you the free enterprise capitalism is no good. I mean, look what happens when you trust, the Bitcoin. It's gonna help make the dollar and the euro and the yen look good by comparison, even though these are fatally flawed currencies. They're still going to look better than the cryptocurrencies to the people who have lost a lot of money. See, right now, there are a lot of people that like Bitcoin because they bought it real cheap. And even though it's gone down, 70% from its high, it got up to 20,000, and now it's about 6,400. There's a lot of people that bought it and still have big profits. But what about the people that bought it at 20,000, 18,000, 15,000, 10,000? They're losing money. And if it keeps falling and it goes down to 1,000 or lower, where I think it's going, you have a lot of people that have lost a lot of money. And so that's going to create a lot of problems. And I think the government's going to come in with all sorts of new rules and new regulations on transactions to try to protect us from ourselves. And again, it's just going to, try to make government look good and the free market look bad. But, people get caught up in frenzies all the time. It doesn't mean that the free market needs to be shut down just because every once in a while, people get greedy and get nuts. And it's not a reason to expand the power of government because government will do much more damage to an economy than, small bubbles will do when you have a boom and a bust because you have a mania.
Do you think that there's any cryptocurrencies that are compelling? Is there any one other than Bitcoin that you go, well, this one has a different set of parameters, a different set of rules?
No, because to me, I mean, you just can't have a digital token that you just create that's going to be a store of value. I mean, money has to be a store of value. It has to be a medium of deferred payment. So what that means is, I have to be able to take my money and save it for a year, 5 years, 10 years. I have to be able to make a loan, like I can loan you money. I can't loan you a Bitcoin and you say, I'll pay the Bitcoin back in 10 years because none of us know what the Bitcoin is going to be worth. So how do you know what kind of interest rate to charge? You need to have stable money. And I don't think any of these cryptocurrencies can ever be stable because there's no real value to stabilize. People say it's a store of value, but there's no value to store. So the only cryptocurrencies that would work would be cryptocurrencies that were backed by a real commodity like gold. And that can work. But what gold money does is actually something better because you don't have to have a cryptocurrency. You just have actual gold. See, the reason that currency existed in the first place, because currency was always backed by real money. So let's say I had gold that I was storing at a blacksmith. I had a bar of gold, and I had a piece of paper that said, pay to the bearer on demand, this bar of gold, right? And it was written from a reputable blacksmith. I could negotiate that piece of paper. I can give you that piece of paper and say, hey, I own some gold at this blacksmith. Take this piece of paper, and now you own the gold, right? And so that piece of paper is functioning as a money substitute, as currency, but the real money is in a vault. It's gold. But it's hard for me I can't break up that bar. I can't just give you a small portion of it. But what gold money is doing is taking that old blacksmith concept and bringing it into the modern era because I can store my gold in a vault at Brinks through gold money, and now I can transfer any portion. I can give you a gram of my gold, a tiny amount of gold. I can just send it to you for free. And now you own that gold because now the ownership register is going to be changed. And instead of being in Peter Schiff's name, it's going to be in Joe Rogan's name. And so once you can do that, once I can take a bar of gold and turn it into liquid money that can be used to buy a cup of coffee.
And
a
you're
pack of
doing all
chewing
this
gum.
without having physical control of the gold.
No,
You're
some-
not physically holding it in your hands. It's in a vault somewhere.
Yeah, well, somebody has to have physical control. And that's what a lot of the Bitcoin advocates don't like about something like a gold money. They say, well, you have to trust a third party to store your gold. Yes, you do. I mean, but people have been trusting third parties with gold for thousands of years. And, you have reliable third parties that can hold on to something of real value because you have to have stability. I mean, that's the big problem that we have in the world today is we have no real money. We just have these fiat currencies that governments create out of thin air. And there's no real stability in the monetary system. If we had real money, if we were on a gold standard, which I believe we will be on again eventually, because that is the norm throughout history, is to be on a gold standard. All these experiments with fiat currency, they don't work. They end in
We haven't
disaster.
been on a gold standard since when, the 70s?
Yeah, we went off it in 1971. Of course, we were on a pure gold standard, in the 19th century and certainly the latter part of it. And
Do
even
you
when-
think we're going to go back to that?
I think so because that's what works. I mean, what we have now works for government, but it doesn't work for the people. It doesn't work for prosperity. When Trump is out there trying to say we have the greatest economy in history, I mean, it isn't even close. I mean, forget about the fact that it's not even better than it was when Obama was president, and he said that was an economic wasteland. But you go back to the period of time, let's say 1870 through 1910 or in there. I mean, that was the golden age of America. I mean, that is what created the middle class. Right? The middle class was a byproduct of the economic growth that took place in America. I mean, we basically had tremendous economic growth. We absorbed tens of millions of immigrants that were coming from all over the world, and they weren't coming here for welfare and food stamps because they didn't exist. There was no minimum wage. There was just freedom here. And people came here from all around the world because they could be freer in America than they could be anyplace else. And it was those free Americans working, with a gold standard, with a sound money that created the greatest amount of economic growth that the world has ever seen in the shortest amount of time. I mean, people talk about, how great the Chinese economy is, but, look back at the American economy during that period, and that was tremendous growth. And I think, we could have great growth again, to the extent that we, substantially diminish the size of government. But part of that would be to return to sound money, and that would be gold.